As we go for our dreams, and even in life, just even if you don't even go for your dreams, this happens. But I think it happens more intensely maybe and more personally, like it really hits you harder. If you are on your hero's journey, you're going towards your dreams, things are going to shift and the Jenga pieces are going to shift. And I just want to remind you of that the pieces are going to shift. So people are going to come into your life and then other people are going to shift out. You're listening to the I Have Dreams, Dammit podcast, a podcast about the realities of pursuing dreams. I'm your host, Lisa Murray, and let's get started.
Live from Los Angeles, California, this is the Lisa Murray Show, and with your host, Lisa Murray.
The day I felt like I really started living.
I don't have enough money to start this business.
I'm so tired. I hate it. I'm working all the time.
I'm not inspired when I'm worried about money.
Life is either a daring adventure or nothing at all.
I'm so sick of all these positive people talking about dreams. What about money? Like, how am I supposed to get the money?
What it's really about, it's about you pursuing what makes you come alive. It's about continually connecting with that energy and just keep doing that. Keep going towards that. That's what it's about. You need to give up. There's too many obstacles. I can't take this shit anymore. Ships are safe in the harbor, but that's not what ships are built for.
It feels really good to be my own boss.
I have dreams, damn it! If you're working on getting your dream out there and you keep getting overwhelmed with which social media platform you should be on, I created a guidebook type of thing. It's called the I Have Dreams, Dammit Social Media Strategy Guidebook. And it will help you figure out the difference between Twitter and Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, just so you kind of understand the lay of the land, what the strengths are for each of those platforms, what sets them apart, and how are they alike. So then you can kind of figure out where you think you should flow. So you can get that at ihavedreamsdammit.com, and there is a link there to download this free guidebook, and it should help you kind of figure some of it out anyways. For a limited time, I'm going to offer one-on-one social media consultation. So if you are feeling so overwhelmed and so lost, I'm going to be offering these slots of just 30 minutes. You send me all your information ahead of time, like what your website is, if you have one, and your social media, and I'll go through it and look for certain areas that maybe you're missing, reaching and connecting with the people that will totally get you and want to do business with you. And so yeah, I have a little system for that. You can find out more about that as well on ihavedreamsdammit.com. And there is a page called Book a Consultation. And it'll all be audio over a Zoom call. I'm going to check everything just as one of your potential clients or customers would. I'm going to come to your social media or your website, look at all that stuff, and then I'm going to write it all up and give it to you when we chat on the phone. So go ahead and visit ihavedreamsdammit.com and look for Book a Consultation. And I look forward to helping you because I'm really, really interested in helping people get past their fear with that kind of stuff. When I first started online, same time around the time that YouTube started, I was all over YouTube and Twitter. And this is before Instagram, and this is when Facebook was still sort of in the beginning. And I was in it all the time. I was constantly posting videos to my YouTube channel, and I was always tweeting. And there weren't that many people on there like there is now, but it was like a world that I was in all the time. It's like living in France for the summer. I spoke French, And then I left, and I moved to Wyoming. I'm just kidding. I didn't move to Wyoming, but I'm just saying it's like once you leave that language, it's really hard to go back. So I hadn't been in it really deep in a long time. So A, I'd been gone. B, it totally changed. Technology, our hardware, now we have smartphones. When YouTube first started, there were no smartphones. I don't know if you could imagine that, but we had to use like shitty webcams. And that's why a lot of my videos, it was only standard definition. And there was no like really high-speed internet. It wasn't like it is now. So those early videos look horrible because there were a lot of things against it. So when at different times I've taken breaks from social media and from just the whole online world, And my most recent one with Derek dying and all that kind of stuff, I really kind of dropped out. And one of the things I found my way back to, though, was YouTube, because I was watching a lot of ASMR videos and other like meditation videos, distant Reiki sessions. I always say Reiki. It's Reiki. I mess up a lot of words. I don't know if you've gotten that from me yet. But distant Reiki. I don't know why. I cannot. Once I get the visual of how you spell the word, I can't do it. It's so weird. I'm going to post my favorite ASMR and Reiki channels on the show notes for this episode. It's episode 20. So if you need some relaxation or some healing and you want to do it through YouTube because you want to stay home and do it and you don't want to go anywhere and maybe you don't know anything about it and you just want to learn about it, check out the links because those are my favorite ones and I'm going to share them with you guys. They'll be in the show notes for episode 20. But so like the whole idea of not being around social media and then coming back to it, I know enough to know certain parts of it, and I know enough to know like huge amounts of stuff that has changed. And so even with Snapchat, it took me a while to get it because there were a lot of things really different than anything else that had come before. So, like I told you in the last week's episode, I was teaching a lot of people social media, and I was like, everyone has so much anxiety about it. Like if you didn't grow up with it or if you just weren't around it all the time. But there's nothing, you don't need to be anxious about it. You only need to know the part you need to know to get your thing accomplished, whatever that is. And I want to help you. Do you remember when I told you when Derek died, it was like Jenga pieces, the Jenga pieces that make up who I am, all crashed down? And it's sort of like when my brother died, I just figured it out. It was a year and a half after Derek died. Isn't that crazy? It's taken me this whole time to like actually sit down with a calendar or my mind and just go, how long was it? It was exactly a year and a half after. So it really did feel like my brother and Derek were like two key Jenga pieces. Do you know what Jenga is? It's like a puzzle with wood blocks, and it's like it's stacked all the way up, and every time someone has a turn, they pull a piece out, and you hope you don't topple the entire thing over, because if you do, then you lose. So you pull a piece out, somebody else pulls a piece out, and it kind of keeps going around until it starts getting very precarious. Well, that's what I had this visual of after my brother died. I just felt like to try to explain it to people, I was like, Michael and Derek were two key Jenga pieces that kept who I was together and sort of up. Even though it's not like I talked to them every single day or anything like that. It was just like, I realized it after they died, more so. And I didn't even know it was to that degree. So then, if you've listened to the last two episodes of last year, it was a really, really hard year for me. And there were some betrayals, and that sounds kind of strong, but sort of like these situations where I had fallings out with people or with business. It was just a bunch of different stupid things. And I felt like what happened was there were another series of Jenga pieces, but these were not key Jenga pieces. And I think once I reconnected with that and remembered the key connected Jenga piece fallout, it recalibrated me. It's really weird, but I really felt like it brought me back to my truth, because we can get kind of caught up in stuff. And these were just little Jenga projects. They were like little things I was setting up. And it really wasn't all that serious. But then I was thinking, as we go for our dreams, and even in life, just even if you don't even go for your dreams, this happens. But I think it happens more intensely maybe and more personally, like it really hits you harder. If you are on your hero's journey, you're going towards your dreams, things are going to shift. And the Jenga pieces are going to shift. And I just want to remind you of that the pieces are going to shift. So people are going to come into your life, and then other people are going to shift out. And we have to be in touch with, if somebody who's shifting out is causing the Jenga tower to kind of wobble, we need to just make adjustments so that it doesn't fall over. So Jenga pieces can be people who are there for us, people in our community, people we work with, family members, traditions, faith, habits, like your favorite coffee shop or your yoga class that you love every Friday. So that's kind of like the Jenga pieces. Those are the things that sort of keep it going for us. And different things are going to cause it to shift, but definitely as you start to make different priorities with your time, your family might start to kind of get a little bit uncomfortable with how much time you're putting into your dream. Or maybe you've had to cancel with a couple friends with some events, or maybe you're like, oh, sorry, I'm going to this podcast convention. I can't go to your birthday party that weekend or whatever, Maybe it wouldn't happen like that. Maybe you're like a better friend and you're like, no, I'm not going to the podcast convention. I'm going to your birthday. But whatever it is, there's going to be times where you're going to have to make a decision that's something else that's just good for you. It's good for the health of you and your Jenga tower of you. And I make those choices for the Jenga tower of Lisa. And we are sometimes going to lose key pieces. And it is going to feel like the whole thing's wobbly. And when Derek and Michael died, and then there was all this other stuff going on too, but when they died, for me, it felt like every single Jenga piece fell down, and not only fell down, but also fell off of the table, was all over the ground. And for me, I thought, that's it. That's the end. That's why I thought I was going to die. Like I was pretty sure I was probably going to die. And I kind of wanted to die too. So I was like, okay, that's it. It's the end. I don't care. And it was so much pain, and it was so much just loss of myself, loss of what I even thought was worth it about life, was those two people, that connection I had with them. And I think now I can look back. I want to say one more thing too. Remember when I said in the very beginning, I think it's an intro show, that I did not want to say that I got better. Like, like how people say that, like, now I'm a better person. That was really, really a sticking point with me. I was really angry about that. And that was part of why I did not want to heal, because I didn't want to ever say that. Because now I can see it, finally. I can look back on this, and I just want to tell you, I've changed my mind about this from the very beginning, which was a year ago. This podcast started a year ago. I've changed my opinion on this because I now feel like it's not that you want to get better because they died and you want to have this really cool story to tell. It's because the alternative is not an alternative. If I didn't do this, if I didn't put a good message out in the world, if I didn't have a podcast, I Have Dreams, Dammit, and now I'm starting my new one, Death Talk podcast, about positive death conversation. If I didn't do this, then I probably would die. So these things aren't necessarily saying, oh, I'm such a great person now because of this whole thing. It's more like, if somebody thinks I'm great or something that I'm doing is great, good, I'm glad. I'm glad I could help somebody. I'm glad that it touches somebody or reaches somebody. But honestly, I'm doing it because it's the only thing I can do. I can only do something of intense meaning at this point, from this point on. I can't just phone it in. And I think that is the gift about going through something traumatic or a big loss. And even though the pain is so much, and in a heartbeat, anybody I know that's gone through this type of pain would choose to keep the person in their lives, and I would too. But on the other side of that is that I'm living fully now, and I'm living knowing that I'm only here temporarily. And if I'm only here temporarily, then I'm going to do everything that's in my heart. And if I feel called to do it, then I'm going to do it. And I'm going to be strong about it. And I'm going to do it. I'm going to push myself out there. And I'm going to learn social media. Because all of a sudden, social media is small in the grand scale of things, right? Social media is a free conduit that I can now get my messages of my podcasts and interviews I'm doing that might help somebody or whatever. I can get all that out to people that need to hear it. So now it's just a detail. It's like I'm not learning social media to be cool. I'm learning it because it's a way to get messages out. And doing what I'm doing now is literally what I have to do to stay alive. I have to have a life of meaning. And I think if you've been through something really intense, some type of trauma or intense experience or intense loss, you know what I'm talking about right now. You know. And we will be dead inside if we don't do something of meaning and give back while we're still here. So that's my changed stance on that whole thing. And I don't know if it's really changed. It's just the way I look at it is a little bit different. And I don't feel as defensive about making something positive out of my life and out of my work after their death. If something good can come out of all this, if somebody else can be healed or helped, then good, because nothing I do is going to bring them back anyways. So I might as well help somebody else while I'm still here. Right? Right. Do you love going to farm stands and buying fresh from the farm produce? Do you have to pull over on road trips to pet a cow? No? Okay, maybe that last part's just me. Regardless, we can all agree on our love for all things agriculture. And how about art? Don't you love watching films about artists, painters, singers, dancers, musicians? Coming in September is the Ag and Art Film Festival in Vacaville, California, and they are open for entries. So if you have a film, a narrative, a documentary, a short, or a feature, if you're a student or if you're a pro, this is your chance to show your film to the world. And by the world, I mean Vacaville, California. But still, it's going to be awesome. Visit agandartfilmfestival.com for more information, and you can submit your film exclusively on filmfreeway.com. Okay, so back to the Jenga pieces. I want you to be thinking about when you start to feel your tower kind of shaking, and think about who is this person in your life? Should they be that key person? Do they deserve that position? Like, sometimes I think we put people in more important positions in our well-being than they should be. And it's a good thing when they get shifted out, So, and then there's other things that we should be bringing in to support us that we don't, because maybe there's already other things there. So just be aware of the shifting of the Jenga pieces. The shifting of the Jenga pieces are part of life, and it's also part of the journey of the hero's journey and of your journey going towards your dreams. And you just need to stay in touch with it. It's when we take our eye off of this or we stop thinking about it. It's kind of like checking in with yourself. That's what I mean by that. It's about just checking in with yourself. Maybe taking a nap during the day. Just keep checking in with yourself, and so that you're not, so far away, and then you check back in and you go, oh my God, my Jenga pieces are all over the place, or I feel like it's all balancing on one thing. And you can kind of tell maybe if something's going a little kook-laroo in your life, if you're taking something too seriously. I think that just happened to me too. A couple of the things that were happening towards the end of the year were not that serious. But to me, they felt serious because I was rebuilding my Jenga tower. And I thought these were the most important things in the world, because they were like the new Derek and Michael pieces, even though they were nowhere near as important to me as Derek and Michael. But they were, my new Jenga tower. It started to just do something to me, and I started to get where I was taking things too seriously. I was getting too crazy. And I could see, but I kept it together. I didn't flip out on anybody. I didn't do anything wrong. I don't look back and go, oh God, why did I do that? Maybe there's a little part that I cringe, like, why was I so insecure about that? Or why was I so triggered by that? But that goes back to the fatal flaw, which has totally helped me to get in touch with. As far as just the Jenga pieces, I think that I was rebuilding everything, and then I just started to take it too seriously. And you know what I've learned after all this time, after all these Jenga pieces on the ground, Jenga pieces going back up, Jenga pieces falling down again? You know what it is? I'm the table that the Jenga pieces are put on. And I'm strong. And even after all that stuff and everything that fell apart and I had nothing, the table was still there. And that's me. The me that makes me me. My spirit. I couldn't really work. I couldn't really be myself like I was before. And I was totally traumatized. I couldn't sleep. There were a lot of things going on. But I was still me. I was just observing it all. So just remember, no matter what happens to your Jenga pieces, you're the table. You'll be able to rebuild anything. I don't care how destroyed your life might feel right now, and even if it is actually destroyed, if you're listening to this, you're not destroyed. Just all the stuff around you is. Those are the Jenga pieces. You can put them back in any order later. Put them back, take them apart, put them back, take them apart. But you are stronger than all that. You're the essence of everything that the Jenga pieces are on. Does that make sense? And I think when we're meditating, what we're doing is we're really getting back in touch with the table, not the Jenga pieces. We're bringing our consciousness into the table. And then if you really want to even get deeper than that, there is no table. So I know this sounds like, and it is, because that's what life is. But I don't know. I feel like we do take things too seriously, like our jobs. We act like our jobs are so important. Like, oh my God. I mean, have you ever been fired from a job? That is like the worst. That's someone walking up to your Jenga tower and ripping the Jenga piece out. That's so humiliating and discombobulating and just, it's horrible. It's a horrible feeling. And then my quote unquote friend that flipped out on me, that was another Jenga piece that was just ripped out. But the thing with that situation, I always kind of sensed something would probably happen one day. I didn't want it to happen, but I knew that there was some writing on the wall about that. And I already made some adjustments to the Jenga tower so that when that piece was torn out, I wasn't destroyed. I never was going to put myself in a position to be destroyed by that. But sometimes you can't help it because you just are living life. And next thing you know, the Jenga piece is ripped out, which is what happened with Derek dying and Michael dying. I mean, there's nothing I could have ever done in a million years to have prepared myself for that. And I'm not saying that anyone could. You cannot prepare yourself for certain types of loss or trauma. You cannot. And I think that's part of why we're here, is for this whole experience of letting go and then holding on again. People talk a lot about letting go, but it's also about holding on, grasping onto something, grasping onto a dream, grasping onto love, fighting for a friendship, striving to make something happen in your community. Those are things you hold on to, right? And also, how would we ever learn about letting go without having it sort of ripped away from us? There's really no way to teach a person how to let go other than ripping something away from them. That's literally the only way. It's not like you can go to a letting go boot camp. There's nothing you can do, because the essence of letting go is letting go of something that you actually wanted. So that's the trick, But then as you get older and you've had all these experiences with loss, letting go becomes easier because it's like a muscle you recognize. You go, oh, I know what this is. And instead of resisting it and dragging it out over 6 months, I'm going to just let it go right now. I'm going to just open up my hand. And if it's meant to be there, it'll stay. And if it's not, it'll go away. And guess what? I'll be okay. I'll continue. Everything will be fine. So what are the Jenga pieces in your life? Do you have something that you do every single day that helps you stay grounded? Who are the Jenga pieces in your life? Who are the people that you call if you need to laugh or cry or vent? Who are the people that are there for you, that just show up when you need them? What are the Jenga pieces about your dream? Like, what keeps you feeling sane? What keeps you feeling solid and good and grounded? What parts of your dream are doing that for you? Have you lost any Jenga pieces last year? Are you putting in new Jenga pieces this year? Is there an area of your tower that's like wobbly that needs to be reinforced? What could you do to reinforce it? What pieces could you add to make your tower stronger? What pieces maybe are wobbly all the time and that you could either take out or reinforce? Like when they tear down a wall when they're doing construction, they don't just tear the wall out and then try to figure out how to put pieces back in there. They put pieces around the wall, the support beams, and they put key pieces in there. Then they tear down that wall, and then they can rebuild and do whatever, right? So if you feel like something's not really right for you, and it's not holding its weight or whatever, that there's something that is making you feel wobbly, what is it? And then put some support situations around it, and then maybe consider either taking it out or just, once you have the support things around it, it'll probably go away on its own. But if it doesn't, maybe remove it. It's your life. It's your Jenga tower. You live how you want that Jenga tower to be. Okay, and also just to remind you, you can get the free social media strategy guidebook, which is really for like beginners or people who just feel foggy about what's the difference between Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, what. You can get a free PDF download by going to ihavedreamsdammit.com, and you'll see it on there and you can download it, and it'll be awesome, and you'll finally know the difference between what is Twitter all about. What's the deal? I love Twitter, by the way, as you know, because I told you in episode 19, but Twitter is very important. And I think more people should be on Twitter. It's kind of like, I don't know, I think everybody should have a handle. Mine's Lisa Marie, but, and also I have one for the podcast. It's not I Have Dreams, Dammit. You know why? Twitter wouldn't let me do it because it said it was too long. So the podcast Twitter is Dream Dammit. So there you go. Lisa Marie or Dream Dammit. Those are your podcast Twitter handles. Okay, you guys, I hope you have a great week, and I'll talk to you next week. Bye-bye.